Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. It's about 7:45 Tuesday night. Got home from work a little over an hour ago. Just had dinner, and this is very much an unplanned video. I went on YouTube, and I'm seeing all these tributes, and apparently Rick Derringer passed away yesterday at the age of 77. We're at that age, man. It's just, I guess it's just never going to end. And it kind of got me thinking that, these rock stars of this age, of course, but a lot of them have a very low profile. And really, so it really comes as a surprise. I had no idea he was sick, or I don't even actually know how he passed away. I did seem to read that he was in some kind of a convalescent home, so I'm guessing that he hasn't been well for a while, but I don't know any details. But I do know that it's another sad loss. So what's my history with Rick Derringer? Actually goes back to the very, very beginning of my listening. So I was born in 63. In 1972, I was 9 years old. I got this album, Dick Clark's 20 Years of Rock and Roll. I have kept it to this very day. Actually came with this book, the 20 Years of Rock and Roll yearbook from Dick Clark. And this was fabulous. I was 9 years old when I got this and read this thing cover to cover with the great pictures. And it was like going to school and learning about that early history of rock and roll. And it is still to this day, it goes up to 73. So I guess I got it in 73. My mistake. So I was 10 when I got this. And so it goes to 73. A phenomenal collection, contains 30 original hits. So why am I showing you this? Because on the second record, you can see right over there, the McCoys, Hang On Sloopy. One of the greatest, most famous for a long time. Does it get any play now? I don't know if people still know it, but certainly when I was growing up, everybody knew Hang On Sloopy. And Hang On Sloopy, of course, was the McCoys. And the McCoys was Rick Derringer and his brother. And basically, they started as teenagers. He was the real deal, Rick Derringer, soon to be Derringer. And they formed a little band, him and his brother. And the story was, correct me if I'm wrong, this is from my memory, so it could be a little bit off. But I think they were a teenage band and they would play live. And they were at a show with the Strangeloves. You know the song I Want Candy? Steve Harold, you liked I Want Candy from Bow Wow Wow. That was a cover. The original one was the Strangeloves, which was a fake group put together by Burt Bang, I think it was, Bang Records, Burt Burns. And anyway, they were touring in support of that record. The songwriters and the producer of that had Hang On Sloopy in the can. And they needed somebody to sing it, and they saw the Derringer brothers, and who changed their name to the McCoys, as in the real McCoy, and hired them to sing Hang On Sloopy. They did not play the music. They sang Hang On Sloopy, and of course it was a #1 smash, all-time legendary song, one of the greatest rock songs, really, of all time for decades. That's why it's on that collection. And to this day, Hang On Sloopy still sounds amazing, and that's Rick Derringer and the McCoys singing that. And then after that, that was pretty much, I guess, the end of the McCoys. Maybe they had one or two minor hits after that, but then they moved on to other things. So what was his career that I knew about? Well, I knew him with Johnny Winter. And he formed the band End with Johnny Winter. So he was playing guitar with Johnny Winter. No easy thing to do, but a great dual guitar match because Johnny's more blues-oriented and Rick a real rocker. And they formed Johnny Winter End. And there's the live record and the album Johnny Winter End. There's a good collection of Johnny Winter stuff, but some of that Johnny Winter End stuff is on here, the live stuff. But he was more than just a guitar player with Johnny Winter and others. He was also a producer and an arranger. And my two favorite Johnny Winter albums, actually, by far, are these two, where they weren't bluesy. This is my favorite one right here, Saints and Sinners. And Rick Derringer definitely involved with this album for sure. This is a tremendous Johnny Winter album. And this is also a great one, Still Alive and Well. Also involved arranging with Rick Derringer. Great, great Johnny Winter stuff. But of course, Johnny at that time started succumbing to heroin problems, drug problems, and Rick Derringer left Johnny Winter and moved to his brother, who was really successful as well, and that was Edgar Winter. And he was very much involved with They Only Come Out at Night and Edgar Winter's White Trash and, classic stuff, of course. And these are great, great albums that Rick Derringer was very much involved in. But Rick also wanted to do his own thing. And 1973 or so, he did All-American Boy, which was, you remember that cover? It's a great cover. And I think he was playing a Fender on the cover, if I remember right. But he was very famous, Rick Derringer, for his guitar. And it wasn't a Fender. In fact, when you saw him playing live, it was always a Gibson. But what was it? It was a Gibson Explorer. Very unusual cut guitar. Look at the pictures of, do I have one here? I don't know if it's in here. But, he's really famous for that Gibson Explorer. Rick Derringer. Here's a booklet. I just want to see. Did I have a picture of it? I'll be damned. Anyway, they don't have it in here, which is really shocking. So Rick Derringer had a really successful career for a certain period of time. All-American Boy, which has, of course, Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, which he did write, and he would be world famous, Rick Derringer, if only for that song, because that is a true rock anthem, timeless classic, and that's quite an achievement. If you really want to get into Rick Derringer, this is all you need, in my opinion. The best of Rick Derringer, Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. This has got 16 great tracks, and you can see the track listing right there. Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. Still Alive and Well right there. The Johnny, there's Hang On Sloopy as well. This is a really fine collection, although it doesn't show his Gibson Explorer. That's the one. If you want to get into Rick Derringer's music, that's the one to get. But even after that, he formed his own band called Derringer. And this is a twofer of Derringer and a famous album of his, Sweet Evil. These are good records. They're not great, but this is a nice collection for me to have as well. But that Best of Rick Derringer is a good one. When did I ever see Rick Derringer live? I saw him, I'm not 100% sure. I saw the Edgar Winter group in the fairly early 80s, and I can't remember if he was in that band or not. So I don't want to say he was. But I did officially see Rick Derringer live at Madison Square Garden with Cyndi Lauper on her True Colors tour. And that was a great concert. And Rick Derringer was her guitarist and her musical arranger. And this is my concert archives. And here is the page from that concert of Cyndi Just Wants to Have Fun. Cyndi Lauper fashion show at Madison Square Garden. And the tickets were, let's see, you want to see? Can I get close? How much were the tickets? A whopping $19, if you like to see. Can you see that in the glare? There you go. You can kind of see that right there. And then my little notes say, Cyndi Lauper featuring Rick Derringer with special guest Eddie Money featuring Ronnie Spector. Friday, December 19th, 1986 at Madison Square Garden. So Rick Derringer was her guitarist and her musical arranger. But Rick played with other people as well, kind of a journeyman. He played with Alice Cooper. I think I heard he played with Weird Al at some point. I am not a fan of his, so I couldn't tell you. I think he actually played with Steely Dan at some point, and that's quite an accomplishment. So anyway, my little tribute to the late, great Rick Derringer, who apparently passed away yesterday at the age of 77. Another sad loss. And again, even sadder in the sense that it comes out of the blue. A lot of these rock stars have pretty low profiles after all of these decades of fairly being inactive, or at least to the general public. And then all of a sudden you find out they pass away, and it kind of hits you. You're like, oh, shit, And he was such a good-looking guy, and he always looked so young. that in my mind, I still picture Rick Derringer like that, or the Derringer live record. He's got no shirt on, playing the guitar. That's kind of how I picture it, and so it's kind of sad. Anyway, a quick tribute and to another sad loss. Let me know what you think. Are you a fan of Rick Derringer? You got memories you want to share on the channel? Feel free. It's always wonderful. As far as me, the Alan Rosenberg Show, if you're new to my channel, you could check it out. I have 466 videos, 5 years of doing this, and a lot of playlists. So feel free to peruse. There's a lot to investigate. As always, thanks so much. Stay safe, stay healthy. And I will see you next time on the Alan Rosenberg Show.